Hey y'all, welcome back. So this morning Charlie requested some homemade cinnamon rolls, but I am out of butter. So this is where we start with getting some fresh milk from Miss Anna. Well, this ought to give us enough cream to get started. So to make butter, we're going to need fresh cream. I already had about a half a quart of cream skimmed off of 1 gallon of milk, and so here I'm skimming the cream off of the second gallon of milk, which did give me right at a quart, maybe a little bit more. I have learned just over the course of a few times of making butter that day or two old cream works better. It just sets up more firm. The first time I tried to make butter, I think I used same day cream, and it just didn't. It was a little messier, we'll say that. I can tell I'm starting to get all of the cream off because I'll start to get a little bit of clearer looking milk, I guess. And so that's when I stop, especially with making butter, because the more actual milk you have instead of cream, the more buttermilk you're going to end up getting, which is fine, but I'm going for more butter here. Although making your own butter may be considered old-timey, I do love the modern conveniences. Thank goodness we don't have to hand churn butter. Today I'm using my Ninja food processor. So next I get out some ice. I'm going to make a quick ice bath just to make this a little less messy once the butter comes out of the food processor. So the whole quart goes into the Ninja. I think I had it on the puree function. I'm kind of always unsure of what button to push on my Ninja, but I know that it just needs to get very high and fast. So that look, we were at whipped cream, so I know I needed to go. This look, another round, still at whipped cream or maybe heavy whipping cream. So I popped it back in for one more time. I knew we were getting close, so I went ahead and got out my colander and a pot to catch the buttermilk. Felt like we were getting pretty close, and sure enough, there you can see the butter. So I think I did pop it in one more time just to make sure. But now it's time to strain the buttermilk from the butter. Something that I learned recently from one of our mentors is I was asking her why my butter wasn't that deep yellow, like the really bright yellow, like you can see in my sink there, but it's just a pale yellow, and it's because our cow is on hay and not the bright grass right now. So that was something I learned recently. So now we are just squeezing out that excess buttermilk. It's really important to get all of that buttermilk as much as you can out, because your butter will spoil if there is a lot of buttermilk remaining in the butter. So you want to get it out. You can see that my butter is starting to melt on the side of that colander. So I popped it in my ice bath real quick, getting my buttermilk out so I can save that for future baking. And then I popped that big ball of butter into two so it was a little more easily workable. Plus, I knew I wanted to freeze part of it, and then I'm actually going to be baking with part of it in just a minute, so I wanted to separate those out. Although putting my hands in this ice bath is really not what I want to do on a cold day in January, I have learned that is the easiest way to get the excess buttermilk out and not to make a huge mess with melted butter all over my hands. So the 1 quart of cream yielded almost exactly a pound of butter, and then about 2 cups of buttermilk. So now that we've got some fresh butter, let's move on to the cinnamon rolls. we're bringing some milk up to temp just to activate the yeast. Can't forget fresh eggs. Now for the star of this show, our freshly made butter. A little trick for this recipe is to warm up a 1/4 cup of milk and pour it over the cinnamon rolls before you bake them to make them extra soft. All right, true test. I guess you're gonna...
The milk mustache. Let's see what this is all about. I'd highly recommend it. Submit for your consideration not to try this. Leave them for me.
Well, I think that means he approves. Thank y'all for joining. We'll see you next time.